Hey you, let's talk about Bigfoot. Skepticism. Now, I'm a skeptic, I guess, whatever the hell that means. It means I don't believe shit unless you can show me the evidence or whatever. That's not what this is about as much. It doesn't mean that I just don't believe anything anybody says to me at all, right? Like, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, blah, 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 blah. So if somebody comes to me and says, there's a skunk outside my house, just right there, right outside my door, I'm not going to go, that's going to strike me as odd, and I'm probably not going to immediately just believe them, but I'm not also going to immediately discount the idea. But somebody might be fucking with me, or there might be a skunk out there. If I look out my window and don't see a skunk, I open my door and don't see a skunk, I'm going to go, hey, there's no skunk, dude. And he goes, it was there, man. Don't you smell it? I go, no, I don't even smell it. And then I'm not going to believe the skunk's there. But then if somebody else comes over and says, dude, there's a skunk outside, I'm going to go, that's what he said too. But I looked and there wasn't one. I couldn't even smell it. And he's like, well, it's there, man. I saw it. Then, 4 or 5 more people come in and start telling me they saw a skunk outside my house. After a while, I'm probably going to start to believe that there might be a skunk out there. And Bigfoot's not a skunk. We know skunks exist. But I'd put it to you that we know apes exist. And it wasn't all that long ago that, you know what I'm going to say, right? I'm going to talk about the gorilla. And you're going to go, well, the scientific advancements in the past 200 years, it's not that surprising that we didn't find the gorilla up until the early 1900s. But since then, photography, airplanes, drones, satellites, sprawl, population, all these arguments. And those are all good arguments. They are. Those are all really good arguments. But what if I told you about the Beely ape? Do you know about that? Do you know about the Bondo ape? They're the same thing. You could find it under either name. It's a chimpanzee the size of a man, and it kills lions, and it nests on the ground. Sounds like bullshit, right? Well, no, it's not. They found it in fucking 1996. They took a picture of it in like 2006 or something, give or take a few years. It was confirmed as existing and classified as a subspecies of an already known species of chimpanzee. There doesn't seem to be any evidence that it kills lions, but I'm gonna go look it up. Lion killer chimpanzee, Beely ape, B-I-L-I ape. Look it up. It's freaking terrifying. It's a chimpanzee the size of a man. Scariest thing on the planet. Where was I? Skinwalkers. I live in an area in the country where skinwalkers are a thing that get talked about. When I was a kid, those were the scariest scary stories, were the ones about skinwalkers. I mean, no bullshit. Like, a lot of people, we'd sit around and tell scary stories. More often than not, the rule, whether spoken or unspoken, was just don't tell any fucking skinwalker stories, because we're out here in the woods where they live. But every once in a while, you'd hear a skinwalker story. And I think the fact that nobody wanted to talk about them that much added to the fear. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a kid, and the older kids are telling me about something that's so scary that they're uncomfortable even talking about it. I mean, it was years and years and years as I grew before I really started to develop a picture of what a skinwalker actually was, what they were actually talking about. And it's this shapeless, formless, I guess, demonic spirit type entity that can take the shape or form of a human or an animal. And they're often seen as people walking through the woods or as wolves. And people around here would say they saw a wolf, but there's no wolves around here. All the wolves were hunted out in the 1900s, and they all moved north, and they just don't live around here. And then you'd hear some people that, people that spend a lot of time in the wilderness would say things like, oh yeah, there's wolves. I saw the wolves. the official story was always pretty much that there weren't wolves here. I mean, that's kind of what everybody believed, but you know, you'd get that crazy old coot that said he saw a wolf on the mountain, and nobody would believe him because there's no wolves around here. Except the people that would believe him are the people that believe in skinwalkers, and they think it was a goddamn skinwalker. Well, it wasn't. It was a fucking wolf, because wolves exist. And you know what else exists? Apes exist. So why can't Bigfoot exist? I've been watching this channel, okay? And I know I'm not being a very good skeptic right now, but I've been watching this channel. I'm going to recommend this channel to you right now. Bob Gimlin. This is how it's spelled. And I'll put a link in the description. And he talks about Bigfoot a lot. And he's not the skepticiest skeptic. He's not even a skeptic. I wouldn't call him a skeptic at all. He uses his imagination a lot, and he makes assumptions based on his imagination, and he uses those assumptions to build other assumptions that he builds other assumptions off of. And some of the stories are told in a very telltale kind of a way, like they're written like somebody who has experience writing interesting stories. You know, these are supposed to be tales that people have recounted to him that he's recounting to us. And they're always written in this way that it makes it fun to listen to, but it's like you're reading a novel. And I wonder if, you know, you could say, well, he probably just does that to make it more interesting to listen to. I don't know. He cites a lot of sources on some of the older claims that are made, but the stories that people just tell him, who knows? You know what I mean? But how many stories do you got to hear of the same thing before you start to go, is there something to this? Okay, well, a lot of people say they see ghosts. You could say that to me, and I'd be like, well, you're right, they do. But what is a ghost? What could a ghost be? What are the properties of a ghost? Do the properties of a ghost line up with what we know to be true about reality? No, not really. Okay, what are the properties of aliens? Oh, we don't fucking know. They're whatever you want to make them up to be. What are the properties of space travel? That we kind of have an understanding about. And the idea of aliens visiting this planet seems to be a little bit out of the question. When you start looking at the properties of what's being discussed and how they compare with what we know to be true about the natural world, that's where my skepticism sits. Okay? So I'm not telling you that I believe in Bigfoot. I'm telling you that I want to believe in Bigfoot, and I don't see any good reason to think that Bigfoot is impossible. All right? So I'm reserving judgment on that. I'm agnostic on Bigfoot. Okay, so in conclusion, is Bigfoot real? I don't know. Until somebody produces a body, live or dead, I guess I have to say, I don't know. That's what I'm going to say. And I can't understand why there would be a cover-up. That's the biggest fucking hiccup in this whole bitch, is I don't buy a cover-up. I don't get that. Why would there be a cover-up? I could possibly be convinced that Theodore Roosevelt wanted to help hide the existence of these things, which of course ties right into the whole they make national parks to hide the Sasquatch theory, because Theodore Roosevelt was the first one to make national parks. But you're going to tell me that up until today, there are people in the government who give a shit about some monkey in the woods? I'm not buying it. I don't know. I don't think they would go through that much trouble for that. I don't know why they would. But that's just me speculating in the other direction. I don't know. What am I missing here? Bigfoot's not real, right? Tell me why I shouldn't believe that there could be a giant ape in the woods in America, and why I shouldn't believe that people have seen it. Tons of people have said they've seen it. Okay, so some people have said they haven't seen it. Who do you believe? 100 people come out of the woods, and half of them tell you they saw a deer in there, and the other half of them tell you they didn't see a deer in there. Are you going to think there's a deer in the woods? If 100 people come out of the woods and 99 of them tell you they didn't see a deer, and one of them tells you they did, are you going to think there's a deer in the woods? Oh, but deer exist, Staggerson. Deer exist. We know that deer exist. We find their bodies all the time. Don't you understand? Sure, you're right. I mean, hell, we find dead humans in the wilderness sometimes. And then that's where it really just kind of falls apart for me. It's like, we haven't found any bodies. I'm supposed to believe that story about the Green Berets going to Mount St. Helens to clean up the goddamn Sasquatch corpses after the volcanic eruption. The fuck out of here with that bullshit. Goddamn, I want to believe so badly. Give me my fucking Bigfoot. I want it. It's a big monkey. He just wants to be left alone. Just leave him alone. You know? And then what if there really was, like, really there's some office somewhere at the Pentagon where there's some unsung fucking heroes of the world who are spending their whole entire lives just to keep this a secret from people like me. Just to keep the Bigfoot safe. And I'm sitting here going, nah, they'd never do that. They got thankless jobs, lives. It's just so hard to believe, you know, but how many things have happened in the world that were pretty hard to believe? What am I missing? What am I missing here? Tell me in the comments. Have I rambled on? Have I convinced you that there could be an ape? Probably not. I don't think I spent very much time arguing the case that it's possible. But it is. I put it to you that it's totally possible. Apes exist. You know, they do. They fucking exist. What property of Bigfoot is it that doesn't line up with the nature of reality as we understand it? What is it about Bigfoot that's impossible? I put it to you that there is no property of Bigfoot that's impossible. Fucking ape in the woods. People say they see it all the fucking time. The same thing. They're all talking about the same thing. And it stinks, it throws rocks, it bangs rocks together, you know. All the fucking stories. Check out this channel right here. Boom. This is how it's spelled. Link in the description. Maybe I'll put a little thing at the end so you can click on it there. Go over to that channel, tell him I sent you. Maybe he'll give me some attention because his channel's way fucking bigger than mine. I don't know why he would. I'm a skeptic. But maybe he'll see this video and realize that I'm an ally of his. I'm also a subscriber of his and a fan. I think I watched all his freaking videos in like 2 days. So tell me, have you seen a Bigfoot? Do you know what a Bigfoot is or why it can't be real or anything? And you know, I know there's just this big glaring lack of evidence for it. Except a billion eyewitness accounts. Countless eyewitness accounts that all tell similar stories. Not all of them. Some of them have wild, different, you know, things, descriptions that don't line up with all the rest. And some of them describe behavior that isn't really in line with apes or the vast majority of accounts of Sasquatch. But I suggest to you that the vast majority of Sasquatch accounts do tell a story that lines up with the other stories, and that they describe the behavior of an ape, maybe a pretty intelligent ape, but I mean, go watch the videos, listen to the recordings of them making noises out in the woods. There's a big ape in the woods. There's a big ape in the woods. I'm telling you. It's out there. Give me my fucking Bigfoot.